Good evening, everybody. Good evening. This your guy. This your boy. This is Doc Holiday, and we're back with another HBCU OverDrive live show. If you haven't done it by now, or if you're a new person, make sure that you like this stream. Make sure that you hit that notification bell. Make sure you hit that comment section and share it with your people. But most of all, subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to get everything HBCU OverDrive. And it is a Thursday. I call it Thirsty Thursday. That's why I got my drinks right here. So we're gonna get right into them. Get my ticker going on at the bottom. And I'm going to bring in my guest today. How you doing, Mr. Crossman?
How you doing, sir? Should I call you Doc? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, you come. That's where everybody calls me on the channel.
I might call you Doc. I like that. No.
Yeah. So give people your I want to know. Give people your background as far as what you do.
Would you like to know my professional background? Or you want to talk about my HBCU background?
Professional background first,
okay.
And then we'll do the HBCU background.
Sure, I'll do a little bit of connection to it now that I think about it. My father was a pastor and civil rights leader, so I grew up in kind of an interesting household. And being a preacher's kid has its own experience to it. They've done research on doctors' kids and lawyers' kids and preachers' kids. And what they found out is preachers' kids tend to perform doctors' kids and lawyers' kids.
Okay.
And I think that the reason why that is because, you know, when you grow up in a pastor's household, you grow up in a household that's very education focused. You grow up in a household that's very focused on community. And then you grow up that's in a household that's very maybe tight on funds at times, right? And so I tell people at a very young age, I became a devout capitalist. You know, I wanted to kind of get out and do things. And so I went to college. I majored in finance, and I took a real estate course. And the first day in class, the professor said to all you finance majors, if you switch to real estate, you'll make more money, have more fun doing it. And that was good news to me. I switched to real estate and kind of never looked back. So I've now been in the real estate business for 30 years. And that's my main, that's where I make my money. That's my main source of income.
Okay. And how does it tie into your HBCU connection?
So when I was a kid, well, I was born in 71. In 1970, my dad was named the bridge builder by the Sun Sentinel in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
That was the work he was doing with getting communities to work together. I got a great picture of my dad with John Lewis and Julian Bond going back to probably 1969, 1970. And so one of the things about old time Protestant churches is you have big pulpit and you have little pulpit. And big pulpit is the word of God, and little pulpit's where you announce bake sales. And when I was a kid, my mom wouldn't even go behind the big pulpit because that was a big deal. So from my earliest memories, my dad did something very unique in that wherever we were, whatever church we were serving, my dad would bring in the president, Dr. Oswald Bronson of Bethune-Cookman University, as a guest preacher. That's rare for pastors to give up the pulpit. And if you can imagine the late 60s and 70s and 80s, for a white pastor to give his pulpit to a black pastor, he also would bring in his concert chorale. My dad got death threats for that kind of stuff back then.
Wow.
But for me, as a kid, again, my earliest memories, I knew about Bethune-Cookman before I knew about Florida State, any other university.
Wow.
So my first college exposure was to an HBCU. And as life would have it, I got into running track, and I was a sprinter, and I ran track at Florida State University. I was a sprinter there, and all 4 years I ran in the family relays. And so, I was around HBCUs from birth, And then I, was around at HBCUs throughout college. As a
Okay.
side note to that, two funny things. When I went to Florida State, my dad gave me an emergency contact, and my emergency contact was the head chaplain at FAMU, because that was my
Hmm.
dad's buddy. And as you might have picked up, I was a sprinter, and I was the only white sprinter during the whole experience. And a couple of years ago, my mom and I always felt pretty sure about this, but we got our DNA tested, and my mom's dad was black, and so I got
Wow.
a Nigerian sprinter gene. So I don't
Okay.
with that, but that is part of my story. Like, it is part of my ancestry as well, and that's a big part of it. So I had that going around with me, and a lot of my childhood, a lot of my life was in very diverse communities. When you get into commercial real estate, particularly when I first got in the '90s, man, here's how diversity was in commercial real estate. You had two
Hmm.
kinds. You had old white guys and middle-aged white guys. That's it, right? I mean, just
Right.
not. And so as I started researching it, there's 101 HBCUs. When I first got involved with this, none that I can find any nationally were teaching real estate. And
Wow.
real estate education, I'm not saying it's everything in the cure of racism in America, but it's a pillar of it. It's a big, big, big part of it. And you know this, of course, that you had all the years of slavery, and then you had Jim Crow laws. And one of the examples of Jim Crow law is, hey, you're a freed slave, you can vote, but you can't vote unless you own real estate. It's illegal for you to own real estate, right?
Wow.
So that it's when people ask me, like, systematic racism, and historical racism, like, what's an example? Real estate's an example of that, right? And
Okay.
so if you study the wealthiest families in America, a huge percentage of them are real estate related. And most people, when they learn about traditionally the value of wealth creation in real estate, they learn it from father to son. They flip generationally. Side note: if you've ever seen the movie, read the book, Pride and Prejudice, my daughter's
Pride
going
of,
to
yeah.
Pride, Prejudice, Zombies. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but the whole premise of Pride and Prejudice is the man has 5 daughters, and he can't leave his estate, his real estate, to daughters. Doc, until the 1970s in the state of Florida, a woman could not buy a piece of real estate without a man's signature.
Man.
So real estate, it's the greatest wealth creator for most Americans, and the denial of access of ownership real estate has been used as a form of racism, right? Controlling society. HBCUs, as you know, were created to educate the formerly enslaved population.
Right.
But what happened is it never got put on the board to teach the black community how to own real estate like the white community. So when President Obama was in office, I wrote a white paper for his administration, and I
Okay.
called this the gap in the civil rights movement. That in the civil rights movement, many things were addressed, but housing was addressed like, put people here. It wasn't addressed in a wealth creation concept. So I spoke twice at the Congressional Black Caucus. In fact, I was very honored. I was on Congressman Elijah Cummings' panel, and I
Okay.
spoke on this very topic. And funny enough, I got asked by the Trump administration to do the same thing. And I had a lot of misgivings about that, but I did do that for them. But then the guy that I sent it to got fired, and I never heard from him again.
Wow.
So it's like what happened. But it's a big deal. I would tell you that I personally believe that every HBCU should have a real estate course. I personally believe that every student at every HBCU should be required to have some level of real estate literacy before they graduate.
I think that's. I mean, I think that's a great idea to have. Um, on to each, at each campus, and especially since you're in Florida, Florida A&M and Bethune could actually have it, and then also you have Florida Memorial, Edward Waters. You have trying to figure out some more that's down there.
That's it. That's our four.
Yeah, there's four. Yeah, there's four. Okay, so you have those four right there. I think it should be. We should have some sort of real estate literacy out, in school, in college right now, to where if you want to be a real estate agent, if you want to go out in that field, then you have the tools, you have the capability to actually go out there and try to, and to succeed. Sometimes, most of the time, you have to have most people be like, well, you got to take a business class, you got to, major in business or finance or accounting or, this major, anything that has something to deal with business, you have to major in it. But like, I think in the state of Texas, I have a cousin that's actually a realtor herself. And I think she went to school, she was in the realtor class for probably like maybe like a couple of months. And she ended up getting a license, here in the state of Texas. But I think it should be, I think that should either be like a concentration, or I think that should be like an actual class, within the business, business and finance majors that's at every HBCU. Because I think a lot of students will actually like it, and when they, like you said, when they get out there, it's fun and you'll make more money because you're trying to get people to live that American dream of owning their own home.
Right. Well, think about it. Think about it this way, Doc. Like, let's just say somebody's listening to this and they're at HBCU somewhere in the country, and they're like, "Man, I don't want to be a realtor. What I want to be is an entrepreneur." Right. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, at some point, if you're going to have a business, are you going to lease space? Are you going to own space? Right. If you're a teacher and you graduate from HBCU, and you're going to sign your first apartment lease, are you going to read it? What are you going to look for in the lease to make sure that you're being protected, right?
Right.
So you don't have to go into a career of real estate to actually need to know about it. And then when we talk about careers in real estate, there are phenomenal careers in real estate where people make a lot of money. I had a Fortune 500 company contact me because they said, we get some Black applicants to our real estate department, but they don't want to work in real estate. They want to work with a company. And they said, we need Black applicants who want to be in real estate. So what we did, Doc, is we created a real estate club at Florida A&M. And FAMU has a real estate club. It's excellent. And now we do a real estate event every year. We did it last fall. We're going to do it this fall. We bring in Fortune 500 companies that are recruiting. They want Black students from Black colleges to be in real estate, and we're providing those students for them. It's awesome.
Okay. And I know we've been going back and forth having a candid conversation on Twitter and everything. When it comes to, I asked this question, and I thought you was a state representative, but you you was like, nope, I'm just a regular person that's right. that a real estate agent, that I own a company and stuff. But my thing about it is, because to me, it don't matter what type of your political affiliation is. Like, okay, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, but if I'm gonna, let's just say we send our kids to let's just say Jackson State. That's where I went to school at. I would be wanting to do this. I would be wanting to have the school to have the same type of funding that a historically white institution would have. And but we don't see that because there's so much layers of the racism and discrimination in it, because you stay in the southern states. Everybody know you stay in the southern states. Most of your southern states are going to be Republican, other than say Louisiana, because they have a Democratic governor. But I'll be trying to figure out, how do we try to reverse that, try to get that trend? Because a lot of people will say we need to give, we need to donate, we need to give. But if you get a kid that's getting out of school that probably got like $30,000 or $40,000 in debt on student loans,
right,
I don't know if they will be able to give like you want them to give. So how do we go about trying to come you know, um, find a common ground with that?
Sure. So first off, let's talk about this two different ways. Like first
Mm-hmm.
off, let's talk about Jackson State. For Jackson State to be an outstanding university, and I have an endowed scholarship at Jackson State, so I'm a Jackson State fan. I meant to wear my shirt, but I wore it the other day. It's in the
It's
laundry.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm a Jackson State fan. But we need everyone that graduates from Jackson State to join the Alumni Association. That's really
Right.
important. People look at that. And then we need Jackson State alums to donate. And I would tell you, look, I mean this, even if you donate $5 a year, donate $5 because the more number of donors, makes a statement. And it helps when you're an alum and you donate, it helps the university when it's trying to raise money in other ways, right? So there's that. Now let's talk about me because I didn't go to an HBCU. This
Right.
is Doc. This is a very important thing I want you to hear, especially if people are asking about what I'm doing. My target audience is not HBCU alums. My target audience is not Black people. I am not. I don't ask anybody that's Black to give money to HBCUs. My target audience is white people,
Mm-hmm.
Republicans, conservatives. I'm going after them and trying to get them to donate money. So when I did that tweet, what was so funny about it is, and by the way, I'm not a Trump guy. I'm a
Okay.
conservative Republican. I'm not a Trump guy. But I
All
will
right.
tell you, I love pointing out to conservatives, not Black people, to conservatives who are white, that Trump supported HBCUs. That's not an endorsement of Trump. That's an endorsement of, why would a guy like him support them? Well,
Right.
because they're awesome is why, right? So I'm out there trying to explain to white America, you should give funding to these schools, and here's why. Okay. Now, I've guest lectured at over 30 universities, and I've lectured at Ole Miss, University of North Carolina, Wabash College in Indiana, where my dad went, my nephew goes, great school, Columbia University, Florida State, Miami, over 30. All of them are kind of, good kids, good schools. There's a
Mm-hmm.
gap. The best school I've ever guest lectured at, Florida A&M, and it's not
Man.
close. And I've told my friends, if I had a group of 100 CEOs with me, we went to all these universities. I said you could only pick one. They would pick Florida A&M. Okay. A lot of times when I tell business leaders, even in Florida, that they're surprised, and I always tell them like the talent at FAMU and the talent at all HBCUs is really, really important that you're out there. So look, I'm a devout capitalist. I'm a conservative. I'm a business guy. What I tell their business people, diversity is not about lowering the bar. It's about widening the net.
Right.
Was the 1968 University of Alabama football team the best representative of the athletes of that state? Doc, they had white defensive backs. Like that was not the best, right?
Right.
So what I want is the best talent. I would never tell somebody don't recruit at Ole Miss or don't recruit at University of Texas. If that's where you went, recruit at your alums. I get that. I'm telling include HBCUs, and what you're going to find is some of the best talent that's out there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we've got to do that storytelling. But here's one of my favorite things about HBCUs that you get, most white people don't get.
Right.
HBCUs are like the military academies. If you meet a guy that went to Navy and he bumps into a guy that went to West Point, they'll tease each other. They make jokes and stuff.
Right.
But if you poke a fight with that Navy guy, that West Point guy will come at you. Okay,
That is
they're
true.
connected. They're family. If you have a company and you're based in Seattle and you endow a scholarship for Texas Southern, and then you have a job opening in DC, a Howard grad is going to appreciate that your corporate headquarters in Seattle did that in Texas. An HBCU grad of any of the 101 is going to respect an employer endowing scholarship at any HBCU.
Hmm.
Now that's really important because if an employer endows a scholarship at Oklahoma, Texas grads do not care, right? If you
Nah.
endow a scholarship at Washington, Oregon grads don't care. HBCUs are different. So the reason why I tell you that is if you are an employer and you're looking to invest money and make an impact, the ROI on HBCUs is far better than any individual PWI.
Right.
Period.
We
Right?
and we always talk about this. I got people, a couple of friends. We content creators, we always talking about this. The return on investment when you go to a HBCU is second to none. And I I wouldn't, to me, I wouldn't be in this spot if I didn't go to Jackson State. I wouldn't. And it's funny because I always tell the story. I was like, uh the five schools that I had when I was getting ready to graduate high school that was on my list. One was Arizona State, and they had a really, really good mass communications program. And that was my major when I graduated high school. Arizona State, Cole College in Iowa. So I went to go visit up there. Didn't too much like the cold. I'm from Texas. I'm from Texas. I don't like the cold. Florida A&M, Prairie View, and then Jackson State was my last one. Arizona State, I took them off the list because I knew I could have got the scholarship, but it was going to be a partial scholarship. So that meant that the other part was going to have to come out of my pocket. And my uncle was like, no, we do not have that type of money right there. We don't have that type of money. Cole College, because it's a private liberal college. The tuition at that time, it seemed kind of easy, but like I said, I didn't too much like the cold. Florida A&M was a good. Florida A&M was pretty much like my final two schools that I had got. I didn't make that decision right there. Prairie View, I was like, nope, that's too close to my house right there because I'm only three. Like Prairie View from Dallas is only 3 hours away. But so my stepdad, who was raised in Chicago, but he was born in Mississippi, he was like, try Jackson State. I tried Jackson State. I went for a summer program, to be exact, STEM program, even though my major wasn't in the STEM section. I learned a lot, and I gained a lot of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge when I went there for my summer program. And my stepdad was like, what are you gonna do? Because I still had, like I said, I had FAMU and Jackson State on my list. So I told him at the time, I was like, I'm going to go to Jackson State. Luckily enough, I had a cousin. She graduated a year after me. She went to FAMU. so it kind of, I say it kind of worked out in a sense. But I tell people, my whole family, most of my family is pretty much all HBCU driven. It's all, like I said, my cousin was a Florida A&M. I have a little cousin right now at Howard. I had one cousin with two cousins that went to Grambling. My aunt went to the old Bishop College before they shut down. I have a cousin that went to Paul Quinn. We had a couple of cousins. I had a couple of cousins with Paul Quinn because it's with the church. And then myself at Jackson State, my other cousin at Alcorn, but he played football. And we was all mixed in. So I think me being at Jackson State and at a HBCU, like I said, it gave me a wealth of knowledge. But I want to ask a question. How do we turn the minds of other conservative white Republicans to actually donate to HBCUs?
Yeah, I think that one of the things important, and when you were watching that Twitter exchange that I was having with people, some people were confusing policy over personal views, right? And
right.
Listen, man, if you took the top 10 Democrat issues and top 10 Republican issues, I tend to bend 9 times to 10 the Republican side, right?
Right.
Uh, but that doesn't mean, you and I couldn't be best friends. It's like that's not a fully defining thing.
Right.
And I think about it this way, to answer your question. It's like if you and I were, running a church together, you can't hate people to Jesus. It's like you can't say, man, you're so stupid, you should become a Christian, right? That's not, how churches grow and how Christ did it was like loving people. You matter, we're choosing you. And so to me, to answer your question, I would say that for all HBCUs is, who is your neighbor, right? Like, who are the top leaders in your community? Who are the top business leaders or political leaders? And if they're an RD, doesn't matter, but seek to be in relationship with them. And
Right.
again, being in a relationship with somebody does not mean you endorse every single thing they do. You're trying to find common ground and get them to campus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing I'm seeking. So let me tell you what I did. The FAMU College of Law is actually based in downtown Orlando,
Right.
and we got a new dean in, and she's amazing. And so for 1 year during COVID, because we couldn't do big events, I hosted 50 lunches, 50 lunches
Hmm.
every single week. She and I had lunch downtown at a club, and then I invited different leaders in. And I focused on the top lawyers in Orlando, and the top CEOs, top business people. And I didn't ask them for money. I paid for lunch. I wanted to give them lunch. I usually gave them a gift or something like that. But I really allowed the opportunity for them to learn about the FAMU College of Law. And Doc, I mean, it was like, it was most amazing. If I took 100 random black people in Central Florida and asked them, tell me the difference between Bethune-Cookman and FAMU, they can do it. Man, you ask 100 white people, I mean like good white people, not like bad people, like people who are good-natured people. They could not tell you which one was in Tallahassee and which one was Bethune-Cookman.
Right.
HBCUs, one of the reasons why they're awesome is they take students in and they put a community around them and they pour into them. That's awesome. Where HBCUs have to get better is the bridge building outside the community and make that connection point. We've got to get that figured out better.
Yeah.
That's the
And
key.
yeah,
Because it's like this. It's like this. If it's just like, if you think about my analogy of Alabama football, as soon as all of a sudden some black players were on the team, people are like, we need to integrate, right?
right.
As soon as when we get, look, when I recruit FAMU kids and I get them into companies, that company then tells me I want more FAMU kids, right? But
Hmm.
we got to get the relationship started. And what makes me aggravated, honestly, Doc, is like, if you're about HBCUs and I'm about HBCUs, we can work together. When you
Right.
looked at the tweet, I said, I'm a Christian. I led with that. My Christianity is the most important. And then I said conservative. I said Republican last on purpose because those are the order. And I said, I support HBCUs. I want Democrats and Republicans to come together. Why would anyone fight me on that? People were fighting me on that. Why would you
Yeah.
fight that?
Yeah.
Why?
It. I don't know because like you said, when you put the Republican lads, it's like, you sure about this? You really sure? But to me, like I said, it doesn't matter your political affiliation, your religion, your whatever type of background that you have. We need to come. Basically, we need to come to an agreement at a middle, not even an agreement, just a middle ground to say, hey, we need to go out here and help fundraise, help sponsor scholarships, uh, wherever you live in, wherever place you stay, city or state you live in, there's always going to be an HBCU close to you.
Mm-hmm.
I stay in like me. I stay in Dallas. The only HBCU here in Dallas is Paul Quinn College, and if I'm gonna, be here and I'm gonna be preaching about historically black colleges and universities on my channel because my channel is named HBCU OverDrive. It has HBCU in it. I'm gonna have to go out there and say, hey, I'm gonna have to put my money where my mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I, I'm I don't want to sound like I'm a hypocrite.
Right.
And I don't think other people want to sound like they're, want to be hypocrites either. So I just say it like this. We all need to play our parts in it,
Yeah.
in
Well,
in the schools.
listen, I say it like this. As a Christian, anyone else as a Christian, we share the same blood. We share the blood of Christ. That means we're family. That's what that means. What do I want for my two daughters? I want my two daughters to have all the opportunities they can have. Well, what I want for Doc, for your children, I would want them at every opportunity. That's what I want, right? We
Right.
both want the same thing. And if you have a child, I have a child, and they're great at, physics, and they want to become an engineer, we want them to have every opportunity to get to great companies that are doing engineering, right? Or journalism or communications or business, whatever it is. And so what we want is that they have the great opportunities. If people say they love HBCUs and they hate Republicans, guys, 45% of America are Republicans. What are you doing? Like, are you saying you don't want CEOs or Republicans to recruit at your HBCU? That's
Right.
not smart. That's not smart, right? You might disagree with Republicans on policy issues, but if they have a job, a career, you want your kid to have that opportunity, right?
Right.
I want to tell you this story real quick. So, here's what happened to me. My wife's family's from Jackson, Mississippi,
Okay.
and I was visiting them a couple of years ago. And actually, when I was in town with my wife. My favorite college band, Living Color, was playing in Jackson. I went and saw it. It was awesome.
Okay.
Great band. But I went to see her family, and I asked my dad, my father-in-law. I said, "How are things in Jackson?" He's like, "Oh man, it's tough. A lot of problems in Jackson." I asked my brother-in-law. I said, "How are things in Jackson?" He's like, "Oh man, a lot of problems in Jackson." And I'm just not a guy that wants to hear that and do nothing. And I'm a real estate guy. So I
Right.
contacted my buddy, John Michael Holtman, who's a real estate guy in Jackson. I said, let's endow the first ever real estate scholarship at Jackson State. And then let's go lecture, let's hire kids, let's invest in Jackson State. I didn't know Governor Tate Reeves, don't know the man, right? But he was in Orlando. And I went and saw him, and I met him, shook his hand. I said, "Hey, introduce myself. I want to be in Jackson. I like to do this at Jackson State." Governor Tate Reeves, conservative Republican, said, "I love it." My partner then contacted your president, Hudson, and asked him, and he said, "I love it." So we met, and somebody posted, actually, Hudson posted this picture on we were going back and forth on Twitter.
Okay.
And it's a picture of me, my partner, President Hudson, and the governor of Mississippi, of Tate Reeves, all there together. And here's what I want to tell you. We had a meeting, the four of us talked about it, went great. We took the picture, big fake check, all that. I was at Jackson State. It was the president's office in Jackson State. So
Okay.
I'm walking out to my car, and I'm headed to go to lunch. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to lunch and order some food, and I'm going to sit down and relax, and I'm going to tweet about this and post on my social media. Doc, I sat down in the car and took my phone up. Both President Hudson and Governor Tate Reeves had already tweeted about it. They had already tweeted about it. I mean, think about that. I mean, I made this much effort, and that governor did this much, right? I made this much effort, and the president of Jackson State this much.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys get it. They totally, totally get it, right? And so that's my whole thing. I have a podcast. At the end of every podcast I do, my last line is support your local HBCU.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to do all I can to get that messaging out there. But we have to be intentional. We have to be relational. To your point, Doc, we have to have common ground. And let me make this point. This is a very, very big point.
Go ahead.
There's principles and there's power, right? Principles and power. You really can't be committed to both, okay? I'm a Christian, conservative, Republican. I'm committed to the principles of my faith, which means to love my neighbor and to care about people and to help and be a servant. I will lose my power as a Republican if it helps my principles. Okay.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means if President Biden were to announce tomorrow quadruple funding for HBCUs, I promise you would see me posting on social media, praise the Lord for President Biden. I would do that.
Right.
If a Democrat contacted me and said, "Hey, John, I want to partner with you," in a hot second, I would. And it'd make Republicans mad. But I'm saying, guys, there are things more important than politics they're things to help people. If it helps the people I love, we're going to do it. Right?
Now that now with that what you said right there, that's called bipartisanship right there.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
some folks that don't understand, when you work with another person from another party or affiliation, doesn't matter if you, like I said, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green, Tea Party, doesn't matter
Right.
what affiliation you have. You and the next person come to a common ground and say, hey, we're going to help out this school right here. We want to help out these schools. We want to help out all 107 historically black colleges and universities and any historically black community college, that because we do have those we do have those there, now, um to help them out, to raise the funds, to make sure that they are, we are endowed, you know, immensely, because it's in fact that is, we run every HBCUs run off of, we run off of, hey, a dollar here, a dollar there, we gotta put our money, we gotta try to break our money in different ways in order for us to actually survive. Um, and it's kind of crazy because 2020, when Jeff Bezos, his ex-wife Mackenzie Scott, when she divorced Bezos and got the money, because she had a hand in what he was doing, and she went out and donated to a lot of schools, mainly HBCUs. Like, I think, I won't say you have to divorce a quad billionaire, but at least if you have that type of money, you have that type of money, go and donate it, because it's not like it's not like it's hurting you. As far,
Right.
and I'm saying you meaning
Yeah.
as the person that's giving the money.
Doc, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anyone donate one penny to the Harvard endowment? Harvard has so much money in their endowment. I mean, they could give away 10% of their endowment and change every HBCU in America. Harvard doesn't need another penny,
Right.
right? It's embarrassing. Stop giving Harvard money. And my dad went to Harvard. I'm not trying to disrespect Harvard. They do a lot of wonderful things. They just don't. It's enough. Enough. They don't need any more money, right? Oh, well, I want to tell you this story. I know a guy. I think he's a good-hearted guy. He has this view that you need to get black kids from black areas into kind of Ivy League schools. And he's like,
Mm.
I want to help black kids get access to the country club. And I look at that and I'm like, okay, that's cool. If a black kid somewhere really wants to go to Wake Forest or something like that, and a scholarship can help them, and that's their dream, I am for that. That's wonderful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is if there's a young black man, and bless his heart, he's awesome. He goes undergrad somewhere, and then he gets a Harvard MBA or something like that. That kid really doesn't need my help. They really don't. Okay. But the kid that has had a hard childhood, that maybe they haven't had all the resources, money's been tight, they couldn't afford tutors, they couldn't afford other life experiences, mom's working all the time, and that kid hustles and gets into
Mm-hmm.
Bethune-Cookman, okay? That's the kid I want to help. And by the way, that kid, you put money in that kid, it will generationally impact. It's a huge deal. It's an absolutely huge deal. I got
Right.
to keep coming back to that ROI, that financial component, you know?
Okay. So
I
I got a
want
question, and I got a question for you. Now
sure.
I'm gonna shift it a little bit to sports.
Yeah.
How do you feel? What is your take on Ed Reed becoming the head coach for Bethune Cookman
Very
football?
excited about it. Very excited about it for a lot of reasons. I'm reading a book right now called Strength to Strength, and it talks about how cognitive decline begins sometimes in your 30s and 40s and 50s, and
Mm.
it's for middle-aged guys like me, and it's basically saying what got you here won't get you there, right? And Coach Reed's a great example of that. He was one of the greatest NFL players of all time, but he can't keep doing that, right? So he's
Right.
pivoting his career. And I love it when a guy or gal decides, you know what, I had this background and now I want to go to another level and do something else. I think it's awesome. Wouldn't it be cool if we saw just a rush of Hall of Famers from baseball, basketball, football, track, come out of retirement and take jobs at HBCUs all across America? Would that not be the most beautiful, coolest thing you've ever seen, to have that level of excitement and get these schools on people's radar that weren't normally on there?
Right.
It'd be totally awesome. I am super excited about it. I'm grateful for it. And frankly, I'd love to see more of it across America.
Yeah. So we because most of my time, like I said, most of my show is about we cover sports and culture. When it comes down to it, and we're gonna shift it back to kind of like with the funding, but we're gonna mix it in with sports. So like we have there was a big issue about I'm gonna just say it like this: big issue when Coach Prime was here, that
Yeah.
coach Jackson State. A lot of people said that he left for the money, even though he was getting paid pretty much almost top money in the FCS. And on average, a head coach in the FCS football program, they get paid probably like no less than like $200,000 a year, and he was getting paid $300,000. Even though, like I said, it was a come up from $300,000 a year to $5.5 million a year. People was like, well, he donated half of his salary. I'm like this. He had his entertainment, Smack Entertainment, that was with him. I feel like this. He didn't donate half his salary. He asked his business partner come up with the money because we had facilities that he was trying to expedite to get done before the kids came back in from summertime, summer break. When it comes to funding, especially college football, black college football, how can we somewhat get up there? When I say not up there, but bridge that gap when it comes to funding for black college football or even black college sports altogether?
So, do you mind if I just give my quick thought on Dion? Is that okay? Do you mind?
Go ahead.
So, listen, Dion left FSU in '89, and I came in the fall of '89. So we missed each other, but we obviously have a lot of mutual friends. And I'm a huge fan. I mean, just straight up, I'm a huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, my favorite NFL team was the Dolphins, and Don Shula was the coach, right? And
Right.
I'm a Florida State guy, and Bobby Bowden was the coach. And I've always had this mindset: you're with one team. Well, look at Dion. Dion got drafted by the Falcons, but he won a Super Bowl with the 49ers and the Cowboys, right? And then he's playing in the World Series. That's ridiculous, right?
Right.
When you think about Dion, Dion is Dion. He had a vision for his life. He made certain choices. You can't be primetime without making these hard decisions and strategically think this through.
Right.
Dion did exactly what I thought Dion would do. Like, he did a phenomenal job. It's unbelievable to have that as background and then be successful head coach. Of course he was going to move on. That's who he is. I think it must be hard because a lot of people, get dialed into Jackson State. It's such an awesome place. They're a lifer, and it's hard for them to understand how someone else is not a lifer. But they got to understand, it's like, that's just not who he is. So
Right.
my advice would be is enjoy what Dion did. He did some really good stuff, and then you got to move on to the next level, right? That's just how that goes. Leverage up and go further. I think that the other part, just to answer your question, is that it's two parts. One is demand excellence. Everything you do, demand excellence and doing the best you possibly can. If you're going to field a team to win national championships. Listen, I'm a track guy. North Carolina A&T. Don't mess with those guys, man.
Right.
Lord, those guys are good. I can't. I ran the 400, and those guys would lap me for crying out loud. Ridiculous, right? So do it with excellence. And then I think do everything you can to push towards great strategic partnerships. You you got to look again. My question would be, for Jackson State, it's like, who are the top 25 largest employers in the state of Jackson? Who are the top 20 influential people? And you got to invite them to a game and get them there and get some time with them, get them to experience it. You need to go see them at their offices, and you got to work on a relationship. Doc, one of the things I do with college students is I talk to them about what does relationship mean. And what I always do with students is always tell them, let's define charity. Charity is one-sided.
Right.
It typically only happens in a crisis, and it's typically short term. That's what charity is. A relationship is two-sided. It's yin and yang. It's equal, and it's forever. Okay. When you're trying to build something, you have to seek out relationships, not charity. Okay. Florida A&M and I have a relationship. FAMU is a resource to me, and I am a resource to them. Jackson State and I have a relationship. If your HBCU is seen as a charity in your community, you're dead. You're dead. That doesn't work, right? So what does a relationship look like, right? Listen, man, I'm telling you what, if something bad happened in my household and I emailed my friends at FAMU, they would show up. They would be here. And I know they'd be praying for me for sure, but they would be there. They would come and they would help and be a resource, right? So when I say that about Jackson State, hey guys, I'm not talking politically, but if Tate Reeves gets sick, you send food. You reach out to that family and you pray for them, right? If some other big player in your community is having a struggle, my daughter, my oldest daughter goes to Palm Beach Atlantic University, Christian University in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
The mayor of West Palm Beach is Black, and he gave a presentation. He said the most volunteer hours in his city that he's the mayor of come from the students of Palm Beach Atlantic.
Right.
Okay. So if there is an emergency or a charity in need in Jackson, and the majority of the volunteers are come from Jackson State University, that community is going to say that is the school we give money to. So we can't have a charity mindset. We can't look at people who have more power and more money than us as better or higher than us. We have to look at having dignity. And if they're doing something for us, we need to do something for them.
Right.
Right. Does that make sense?
That made perfect sense. That made perfect sense. And I think a lot of people and that's in my chat and that's watching right now, they are, they can actually we can come to an agreement. And I always tell people you can agree to disagree. You're always gonna have people are gonna have opinions.
Yeah.
People are gonna have their own point of views. But if you respect that person's point of view and you just respect that person's opinion, that other person gonna respect your point of view and they're gonna respect your opinion. And then you can come together and say, hey, what can we do to get this done and to make this better? It's a lot of things that I got. A shout out to Mr. Stephen Campbell. He's a FAMU graduate right there.
Awesome.
What I was saying is, if we could all come together, and this is something that my wife always tells me. She was like, since I started this podcast, towards the end of May, right before Memorial Day, and I built it. I like to tell I built it from the ground up. And she's like, honey, if you don't have any type of relationship with other people that's talking about the same thing that you're talking about, then baby, your podcast ain't gonna do anything. It's gonna flop. But she always tell me that. So, I always make it my due diligence to even people that sometimes I don't disagree with their points, but I respect their points because they are bold enough to give their points, put their points out there, especially on a platform like YouTube. And even, like I said, I'll try to do my part. Like if they got a membership, I'm gonna donate to their, I'm gonna sign up for their membership. They can take my $5 and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And if they want to do it, they can do it for me. I mean, because it's all a give and take. It's all, not even say the give and take. It's well, if you scratch your back, if you scratch my back, I scratch your back. But I always look at it to like where I want to take my platform, my podcast, and I want to take it to a whole nother level. And not just dealing with HBCUs, but just dealing with all aspects.
Well, I want to tell you this story. I again, I part of it's because I'm a real estate guy, so I've had President Trump on my radar a long time. I'm just not his guy, man. I certainly can respect him as a human, and I respect some of the success he has, I'm glad he supported HBCUs. I can't get there. My faith, I just can't. I can't
Right.
get there with the gentleman, right? So when he was about to get the nomination for the Republican Party, I was very frustrated, and I was meeting with a friend of mine, and I said, if Trump gets the nomination, I'm done with the Republican Party. I can't do it anymore. I can't become a
Wow.
Democrat. Democrats don't want me. So I don't know what I'm going to do. And my friend looked me in the face and she pointed her finger at me and she said, don't you do that, Crossman. You stay in the Republican Party and you fight the good fight in the Republican Party. My friend who told me that is Congresswoman Val Demings, who was almost our
Hmm.
vice president. And she is a very powerful voice in the Democratic Party. She's my friend. I love her. When I see her, I hug her. My mom loves her. She's an outstanding woman and somebody I really admire. Why am I still Republican? Because a Democrat told me to stay in the Republican Party. And she's smart, and that's why I'm doing it. And I'm going to
Oh,
fight my fight. Now, keep this in mind, too. My mom and I are very close. My mom's 84. My mom's a lifelong Democrat. The
right.
Democrats are not my enemy. They're my family. I love them, right? We're in this together, guys. We're working together. And I would caution, look, I have been at the Congressional Black Caucus worship service. I have seen a room of Democrats praising Jesus, and they're my brothers and sisters in Christ. So when someone says to me, oh, a Democrat can't be a Christian, I'm like, dude, you're wrong. And if somebody
Hmm.
says all Republicans are racist, that's ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous. That kind of language doesn't help us.
Right.
If somebody said to me that they explained their whole belief system and it matched with the Democratic Party, I would say, be a Democrat. There's lots of reasons to be a Democrat. And it's good, healthy to have healthy tension and debate. We can talk stuff through. But don't dehumanize me because I'm a Republican. And let's find common ground and ways to work together. I also want to tell you this, that I've had an honor a lot of years in doing different political stuff, met a lot of different politicians. And one of my favorite people of all time is Jeb Bush. And when all the southern states were taking down the Confederate statues and stuff like that, we didn't have that problem in Florida because he took care of that 20 years ago. He's done a lot of great stuff.
Right.
So I've met Jeb, no Jeb, and met George Bush and those kind of people. But of all the famous people and all the politicians I've ever met, the most impressive one, it's that close, Michelle Obama. Oh my God. Woo! I met her, and I'm telling you, she's the most impressive person I've ever met. And usually once a year, I think I sent you the picture, but I'll post the picture of Mrs. Obama and myself together. And I always tell people, I'm like, look, I don't think there's one political issue she and we may agree on, but I respect her. She believes in kindness. She has served this nation. She's got 2 daughters. I got 2 daughters. I respect her. And I put that out there. People get mad. People get mad when I put that picture out there. But
Wow.
I do it on purpose to say, hey, man, this is what it's about, right? Finding ways to work together.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. But if anybody in the chat, anybody got some questions in the chat, y'all more than welcome to ask some questions in the chat. And we can see if we can answer to the best of our ability. If you got any questions in the chat. But going back to when you was talking about growing up around Bethune-Cookman, with you named out some heavy hitters like Elijah Cummings,
Yeah.
John Lewis. Like, how was it growing up knowing that those guys were, basically we look at them as icons today?
I've always tried to be respectful of history and respectful of position. I got to have lunch with Speaker Nancy Pelosi,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to tell you something. She is impressive. She is smart. She is sharp. And when she started to stand up, I stood up. And again, it's not like I politically agree with her. It's that she deserves respect for that position,
Right.
right? And sometimes people have political positions, and it's easy to respect them. Other times, it can be hard. But we have to come back to again our humanity and respecting structure and respecting the person in the position. I was fortunate growing up to be around some really cool opportunities, really cool places, and meet some different people. And I try to stay respectful of that. I will tell you, this is another crazy story. I got to have dinner with Martin Luther King III, and we were exchanging some stuff. And I showed him this picture of my dad, and he was the one that told me. He goes, "That's John Lewis." I did not recognize him because he had hair. I didn't recognize him. And then, all these years later, I got to meet him, got my picture with him, and it was awesome. It was just a amazing a moment. And it's funny. I show that picture of my dad and Congressman Lewis, and most presentations I do to college students try to give them that sense of history and the importance of that. It was awesome.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think anybody got any questions. So I'm gonna just go ahead and try to end it right here because I think I got some other stuff
Can I
going
say
on.
one last thing real quick, Doc?
Go ahead.
Real quick. If there is any HBCU that's interested in developing a real estate program or something, I have free resources. I can show you what we did at Bethune-Cookman, what we did at FAMU. I have free resources. I've got a guide to commercial real estate on my website that a lot of colleges use. It's free, and I'm happy to support in any way. So I'm one guy. I can't do it all. But if there's an HBCU that really wants to, I'm certainly happy to help.
Oh yeah. I think somebody got a question coming up. They probably typing it right now. But okay, so here we go. There you go. As if you support additional funding for HBCUs in the federal budget, which is $6 billion. 60 billion.
100% I do. 100% I do. Uh, I'm just telling you, man. Look, in my world, I'm seeking private donations. I'm a private guy seeking private donations. So I'm not in office. So I give and ask people to match me. But if you ask me, you say, "Hey, John, should the federal government give more money to HBCUs?" Absolutely, I agree with that, and absolutely, I would say it on a statewide level too. I would say on top of that, all HBCUs need to make sure they're very tight with governance and leadership development, and make sure that they have really good systems in place on those funds. That's very, very important. So absolutely. But again, when I think about education, there are some universities I think are overfunded, and then there's universities that are underfunded.
Right.
And let's get more financial support to the universities that are making a difference in people's lives.
So another person asked, "Have you ever been on Roland Martin?"
I've met him. He wouldn't remember me, but we met. I've not been on a show, but I've met him very briefly at the Congressional Black Caucus years ago. But very impressive guy. A lot of respect for him. Funny enough, also that same event I met. I sat actually next to Al Sharpton, and he was very impressive as well.
Now This was my guy, HBCU Band Talk. He is a Bethune-Cookman alum. He's asking, should we contact him on Twitter or email? So
Either one, you're welcome. You can put my email out there. My email is jcrossman@CrossmanCB. That stands for Career Builders. jcrossman@crossmancb.com. Or you contact me on Twitter. If you DM me on Twitter, I'll be happy to give my information. I'm very easy to find. It's not hard to track me down. If you want to reach me, you can reach me.
And let me see. How do we get people to vote that money back into the budget?
Well, let me say something that's very important. I should have said this earlier. I was speaking at University of Central Florida's NAACP chapter, and I said, listen, if the Democrats feel like they always have your support and the Republicans feel like they never have your support, you have lost all your power. Okay?
Wow.
You need both sides to be wooing you, right? You don't want to have a hateful word against Republicans. You need to be like, hey guys, come pitch us. And you want to welcome in that conversation. You don't want to make it that way. And you want to make sure, look, anytime here's the thing. I met with a guy and he was just pounding on Trump. He said all these negative things about Trump. And I said, I agree with you on all those negative things. I agree. And then I said, I like how he supports HBCUs. And the guy started arguing with me. I said, dude, affirm that. Just affirm that. Like affirm that behavior. If Tate Reeves, who's a conservative governor, but he's supporting Jackson State, affirm that, right? Don't be all negative. When you see things happen positive, affirm that behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Encourage that behavior, right? We got to find those places. We need everybody helping out with HBCUs and pushing that along.
Okay. My friend Dewan, he has you got a wealth of knowledge and diverse friend base. Do you have political aspirations on any level?
I do. I want to become the U.S. ambassador to the Bahamas. So if you can make that happen for me, Doc, I'd appreciate that. Listen. The thing about it is that the answer is I don't. Part of the reason why I put that picture of myself and Michelle Obama out, it kills it. Like there's no Republicans going to nominate me with pictures of me and Nancy Pelosi and Michelle Obama. No Democrats going to take. I honestly believe I don't think either party would ever take me. But the cool thing is that I just want to do. I want to make an impact in life. I want my life to matter. I want to impact places and people and things. And I want to partner with people. I want to maintain my integrity and partner with people that are making an impact. And so whatever that looks like.
All right.
I have no desire. That's not some of my radar. I also think I don't think I'm qualified for any political office. Of course, that doesn't seem to prevent other people from running for office. But I really just want to be flexible. And I want to go where people need me. Honestly, I'm going to tell you this. I did a lot more work for FAMU. I think FAMU is doing so well. I don't think FAMU needs me as much anymore. I'm doing a lot more now with Bethune-Cookman. I think Bethune-Cookman needs me right now. I want to work on that. I want to work more with Jackson State. And I want to work more with wherever I can help and be of service.
Okay. Let me see. Got this one more question right here. So do you so you have a group of friends that's like-minded in supporting HBCUs?
Yeah, so here's something interesting to think about. And I'm going to say this to you. I used to say this in a whisper, and now I say it louder and louder because it just keeps happening, and I'm trying to get better feedback on this. When I talk to Blacks, there's total support for HBCUs. When I go to white Republicans and I ask them to donate HBCUs, I get a ton of support. I get almost no support from white Democrats. None.
Wow.
I mean, I'm just telling you, if you said to me, Crossman, I challenge you to raise $1 million for HBCUs and it all has to come from Republicans, I could pull that off. If you said white Democrats, I don't think there's any way I could pull it off.
Wow.
That's a very weird thing. I have a tough time. It's just so funny to me. If it's a black Democrat or black Republican, I'm right. It's like this every time. Even with white Republicans who sometimes be jerks or whatever, there's ways I can find some connection points and I can make it work. But white Democrats, I've had a tough time getting together with them. But yes, I do. And here's the other thing too, Doc, you need to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the biggest, most important things I should say. Institutional funds in New York City they are more and more and more getting pressure on ESG and DEI. I am telling you that any company in America who's getting funds out of New York, big time funds, they're being held accountable. You cannot have an all white board, all white dudes in your board anymore. They are getting pressure, right? In life, what you want is to be a solution to problems. HBCUs are the solution to much of corporate America's problems. They are for a variety of reasons, right? And so if you take that mindset of like, do we have solutions to help fix America? Yeah, you do. HBCUs do. And you're creating great talent and you got to get out there, but have that mindset that there are corporations that need you. They need HBCU grads, they need HBCU leadership.
Okay, man. I'm gonna get one more question. I think I'm gonna kind of shut it down for the night. Somebody had it up here. Okay, here you go. Reps.
You may answer that one?
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that came up in Twitter a couple times, and I have a little hard time with that one, and let me tell you why. I tend to think in a very personal way, like I'm doing my part, I'm writing my own checks, and I'm doing my own work. And so when here's a concept, that's more of it's a overarching big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think my answer to that is I'd like to unpack that. And I think my answer is a lean towards yes in a concept of a healthy way to do that. That's why when I hear about I would support overfunding, not over, vast increased funding to HBCUs in the context of that. So I think in the right way, yes, I think I do support that in the context, you know.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for coming in and coming on the show. Very insightful. Got my eyes open right now. Got my eyes open, my mind open, and my ears open too, because we all got to do our part, and especially, from people have been telling me that, there might be a Supreme Court judge, like a judgment from the Supreme Court about affirmative action. And, if that's the case, then HBCUs are going to have to be, to me, super funded when if it comes to that. Like you can't. There's no way you can cover up the underfunding, because if that happens, then we're back. You got to fund the schools. You have to be able to fund these schools. But I appreciate you for coming on tonight, and I'm going to actually. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share this this live stream. I know I shared it on Twitter, right? I mean, I broadcast it on Twitter also.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that did not get, were not able to see it, that didn't get a chance to see it, I'm gonna share it on Twitter once this is over. That way they can actually see it and kind of listen to what you're talking about, because I think what you're saying is what you're talking about. We all, like I said, we all need to be doing that. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter race, political affiliation, orientation. It doesn't matter. We should all be putting in, we should all be funding and putting in some sort of money for HBCUs. Because they are the lifeline, they are the bloodline of America. Just you just had to put it point blank. They are the lifeline and the bloodline of America. So if anybody want to snip that and cut that to do it as a short, go right ahead. But I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I really, It's very kind of you to reach out to me, and it's kind of you to have me. And I'm supportive of Jackson State University, and I want to get there. If they'll have me, I would like to come guest lecture there. And whatever I can do to be as a friend and a resource, I'm delighted to do so. So thank you.
All right, thank you. You have a good one.
All right, brother. Take
All
care.
right. Hey man. Hey man. look, look. It ain't every day you can come across people like that genuine about doing some when it comes to giving. You get what I'm saying? When it comes to giving, you don't run across too many people, especially not in this day and age, y'all. But I like I said, I appreciate him for coming on the show. And I appreciate him for giving him his background, um, giving um what he stands for, what he's about, because as a Christian man, but he's Christian, conservative, Republican, and some people still hate him, with that Republican word, but it doesn't matter to me because uh at the end of the day, if I was to cut you and you was to cut me, we gonna bleed the same color. Am I right or not? Am I right or not? You cut me and I cut you, we gonna bleed the same color. I mean, that's it. And that's it. But uh what we got going on this weekend? What we got going on this weekend is Friday night. Friday night is Friday night. I got somebody coming back on the show. I reached out to him. He reached out to me. I got my guy Bruce Batman Mitchell coming back onto the show. So he's gonna give me a rundown a couple of days that he had in practice because he's a first time student at Jackson State, and what he think what he thinks of his new teammates, his new home, coaches. So he will be back on the show. Hopefully, I have Mr. Ford on the show tomorrow. So we'll be talking about some football. We talking about some swag recruiting also. Hopefully, let me see what's on Saturday. Saturday, if I can get She Loves D back on the show. And I told her that my audience loves her because she speaks from with facts and she speaks from the hip. She don't back down for nobody, and that's the best thing that you want to have when you become a podcaster. So make sure that you have your facts and make sure you don't, people don't try to bull rush you and bogart you on your own, on your own platform. So yes sir, Israel. You already know. So I'm gonna reach out to her about Saturday. you know, and we can get we get this going really for Saturday. And I know people don't talk about this, but we gonna talk about the HBCU game day interview Tyler Carr and he did with Neely. Um, we'll talk about that, get everybody's opinion, and see what um we can do to see how we can come about with getting more content creators and at Jackson State to do behind the scenes. But yeah, help me. But help me. But we it's gonna be Tane it's gonna be tamed Israel. It's gonna be um you know how, come on now. This HBCU overdrive, you know how we do. You know how we do. We not gonna sugarcoat nothing. But y'all, in fact, y'all go support her. If you haven't supported her now by subscribing to her YouTube channel, y'all need to go support She Loves D on YouTube. She comes up with fire short videos, and hopefully when she get her like I said, when she gets ready for the podcast, man, hopefully I'll be the first person on there. but but y'all go support her. Also go support Ken Clark over at Ken Clark 1400 Club, Tiger Talk. Like I said, even if I is some things I don't agree with them, you still go support Scotty at our script. Blue Bloods, Kobe with the Bliss City podcast, Coach Walker with the Tomorrow Leader Sports Network, Coach Simmons, who we got, Corner Sports Net, we got Cut Day. Shoot, I ain't seen Cut Day I haven't seen Cut Day in a minute, but go support him. Smash Time with my guy down there in Baton Rouge, making sure that he got all the band stuff. Killer Kev with the band content, Showtime Web with the band content. All these creators, these content creators for that provide us with good stuff pertaining to HBCUs, or even in the prep schools with the high schools and with bands and sports. Make sure we go support them. Make sure we support them by hitting that subscribe button on their YouTube channel. Swag Buzz too, man. So yeah. but other than that, man, y'all make sure y'all also go support. Also, shout out to my wife. She's in the she's in the room doing homework. So because she's back in school. So y'all give a quick prayer for her, because we trying to get her to walk across that stage. If you missed last night's show about Greek night, we're gonna try to do it again on next Wednesday. So I think next Wednesday we're gonna do Greek night. So we're gonna cover individual organizations. So next week, them boys, the Crimson and Cream, they calling them pretty boys. When my guy Cedric Walker said, "Frat so nice they had to name them twice." We're gonna concentrate on Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So I'm gonna need somebody. Just DM me in my Twitter, if you want to go ahead and come on the show and rep your organization on next Wednesday. Let me know. We'll set that up and we'll be live on that thing. But thank you, Rez. Thank you. Oh yeah, she gonna graduate soon. We're gonna make sure she graduates. We're gonna make sure she walk across that stage. So we're gonna make sure she walk across that stage. So, like I said, tomorrow night, gonna be at 9:00. Gonna have Bruce Batman Mitchell on the show tomorrow night. Hope Mr. Ford be on there tomorrow night also. But as always, this is HBCU Overdrive, and I'm your host, Doc Holliday, where HBCUs matter. If you haven't done by now, make sure that you like this stream, get that algorithm jumping. Make sure that you comment on the stream. Make sure you share it with your people. But most of all, make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure if you are a subscriber right now, get that exclusive membership for $4.99 a month. plus tax. That's all it is. That's all you need. If you're gonna pay it today, you can pay it today. Pay it tomorrow, you pay it tomorrow. All you gotta do is just hit that join button on the page, on the channel page, and boom, you get everything. You get everything before everybody else get it. So so that's what's going on. Monday would be Monday Night Live. We'll do viewers with the y'all ask questions with the super chat. Trying to get the money raised up. Like I said, it's not going in my pocket. It's going for the channel. So that's what's going on with this right here. And as always, man, as always, y'all, man, y'all be blessed out there, man. Y'all be blessed. If you haven't hugged your loved one or somebody that you care for, that cares about you, man, go hug them, because you never know if they gonna be here today or they're gonna be gone tomorrow, y'all. What's that one song by UGK? One day you here, baby, and there you gone. So we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be like that. Make sure you love on the person that loves you the most. All right. Make sure y'all be blessed. Make sure you stay safe. And always, man, stay dangerous. And we out this thing. Till tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Peace.